What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the Draftkings Picks and Prediction Show. This week, we are breaking down UFC 289, Amanda Nunes going against Irene Aldana. We have an 11-fight card this week. We are here with Gordo, Monk, and Weezy. We'll kick it to you first, Gordo. You looking forward to this nice pay-per-view card?
I think I am, and I think I am more than almost anybody because it is going to be in my home country of Canada. We are going to finally have a card after, a few years of waiting for it, and although it may be in Vancouver, we still have some decent prospects, and I hope that it puts on a good enough show to come back in the near future. I'm very excited for it.
Yep, I'm excited as well. We got Monk in the building. Monk, what is up? You looking forward to UFC 290, 289?
Yeah, I am looking forward to UFC 290, that's for sure. But
Yes.
289 in the meantime, yeah, that will do. On paper, maybe not the most fantastic name recognition, but there are definitely some good matchups. And as Gordo alluded to, several Canadian fighters on this card that are very good, if not prospects, and very good UFC veterans. So yeah, absolutely looking forward to it.
And last but not least, we got our Uncle Weezy in the chat or in the panel. I'm messing up today, guys. What is up, Weezy? How you doing?
Doing good, man. This is a fun card. Great to be back in Canada. I know that they used to do cards in Canada all the time, and I think probably it was COVID that ruined it for Canada for a minute there. But it's good to see them back. And I remember, back in the day watching the Canadian cards and just watching Canadian fighters get gifted decision after decision after decision. We gotta keep that in mind. We gotta see if these Canadian judges, which are usually just the American judges flying across borders, but we got to see if they're going to try to hand it to the hometown fighters again, and maybe use that angle a little bit in our DraftKings capping here. So it's going to be an interesting week to talk about.
We'll have to check the judges, see if they have gravy around their mouth. They've been paid off with poutine.
Absolutely. Hopefully, Chris Lee stays far away from this card, but because I think we're gonna have a lot of decisions this card. So hopefully, Chris Lee stays far away and take some time off there. But yeah, looking forward to this card. Before we get into it, guys, if you guys can leave a like on the show, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll talk some prize picks mid-show. But as always, we're going to kick it off with the fight to target, and we'll kick it off to Monk. What is your favorite fight to target for UFC 289?
Well, there are several, actually. You did mention, I agree with you, a lot of decisions, but there are also a couple of must-play fights, in my opinion. I'm going to take the easy one. It's the main event. Amanda Nunes, Irene Aldana. Amanda Nunes, quite frankly, one of the best DraftKings scores that exists. Male, female, weight class, doesn't matter. She's constantly up there. She's 7-1 in 5-round women's bantamweight fights. Scores 4 points a minute, over 5 points a minute inside the distance, allowing just 0.7 points inside the distance. Over those 7 wins, averaging 121.5 points, guys. Over her last 5 fights, she has 2 150 plus scores. Like I said, over her last 2 fights, over her last 5, 145-point ceiling, the highest on the card. Controls 91% of her grappling time. And Irene Aldana's numbers are all pretty subpar for the most part here. 9,500 is a great salary to play. So I'm planning on Nunes, scoring well in a finish, scoring extremely well in a 5-round decision. And if none of that happens, you play Irene Aldana with the other 15% that you have, because she's $6,700. And if she wins, she's optimal. So 100% fight seems pretty clear to me. I will be playing it as such.
Love it. I went with the co-main event here. We got Beneil Dariush, Charles Oliveira. I love these price tags. Beneil Dariush, 8,600. I think he has finished upside. Charles Oliveira, although I'm picking Beneil Dariush to win, I think Charles is probably my favorite dog on the entire slate. I mean, this guy has a ton of upside. I believe he's finished all but one of his wins, and the guy's 33 wins in his career. I'm going to be probably about as close as 100% exposed to this fight as possible. I think this fight does finish inside the distance. Like I said earlier, I'm picking a lot of decisions. I think this is one that does finish. I do lean Barriault ever so slightly, but that price tag on Oliveira really sticks out this week. So love that co-main event. I'm with you. I'm right there with you, Monk. I think the main event as well is a great fight to target. Gordo, which fight are you targeting heaviest on this card?
Yeah, we talked about the main event. We talked about the co-main. Give me the one before that. Mike Malott taking on Adam Fugitt. A very, very fun fight. First of all, if you got to have a Canadian card, put the Canadian flag beside Malott on Draftkings. Come on. But no, it is one that is expected to end inside the distance, the highest inside the distance price tag on the card, and it's going to be a very, very violent affair. Mike Malott's a guy who's very, very explosive. He has 11 fights, 10 of them ending in the very first round. He's a killer to be killed fighter. Very subpar defensively, but I do think he excels very well offensively. Some great technical striking, some great ground game as well. And I do think that he has the style to put almost anybody out of there in round one with a very high ceiling. Flip side of things, though, he's question mark on the cardio. His durability is also a question mark. He can be finished, leaving a huge ceiling for Adam Fugitt as well. I do think this fight, it takes place at a very, very high pace, and I do think the winner scores very, very well.
Another fight that I think finishes and scores well. Another fight on the main card. That's 3 Weezy. What is your favorite fight to target this week?
It's any of those three that you guys mentioned, but I'll give you a fourth. Why not Maria Oliveira versus Diana Belbita? These are high volume strikers here. We got Diana Belbita. They're both only 26 years old. Oliveira is landing 8.41 distance strikes per minute spent at distance. For Belbita, it is 9.02. With Belbita, she's scoring 3.35 DraftKings points per minute, and she's allowing 4.11. And Oliveira is actually allowing 4.34 DraftKings points per minute. So, obviously the top three fights that I would target are those, but this is one where you could get a mid-priced fighter, and they're probably going to score a lot of points in a decision. If this fight takes place at distance striking range for 15 minutes, and they're both landing 9 distance strikes per minute, you're talking about 135 significant strikes. That's something that you're gonna score high if the pace of the fight is that high. In addition to that, both of these ladies have mixed in a takedown or two every now and again, so it's not the worst play. But obviously, any of those three fights that the gentleman above me mentioned are all better to target.
Yeah, that Belbita Oliveira fight, I think that's a sneaky one, Weezy, and I think it's going to be very, very low owned, a lot lower owned than the 3 fights we touched on for sure. So I like it. I agree with it. Let's move on to our fight to fade. I'll kick us off here. I'm going to fade the Miranda Maverick Jasmine Jasudavicius fight. If anything, I might sprinkle some Jasudavicius just for the price and just because I think she does have some takedown upside. But I think Maverick does go out there and win this fight. But I really struggle to get to that price tag on Maverick, 9,300. I'm not even sure if she's the better wrestler in this matchup. I think she does have a lot of advantages, but I could see Jasmine being the bigger fighter, the stronger fighter. I think Maverick does edge it out via striking for the most part. 9,300 can't get there. Least likely fight to end inside the distance. Like I said, if anything, I'll maybe sprinkle some Jasmine just because she's so cheap, but I'm not even sure about that. So I'm fading that fight for the most part. Gordo, which fight are you fading for UFC 289?
Yeah, it's that one as well. But if I have to pick another one, let's go with Imavov Curtis. This is the one that I do project to go all 15 minutes as well. Both these guys are going to be willing to keep it on the feet, meaning we have ourselves a fight with not much grappling, and it is expected to go all 15 minutes. With that being said, sure, there's some knockdown potential, some volume, but I don't think it compares to the people around them. I do think that if you look at the past wins for Imavov, especially ones that have gone the distance, he scored 70 and 73 in fights that have gone the distance, right? So in this one here, when two guys are very, very tough, you have two guys who I think have not that much grappling possibilities. It is one to be fading down the stretch.
And Weezy, which fight are you fading this week?
Same one for me. What I wrote was that both guys are durable. Neither one wrestles much. The guy who does wrestle is fighting a guy with 100% takedown defense. This fight probably goes the distance with little to no grappling. So now you need volume, knockdowns, and knockouts to score points. And neither guy has ever been knocked down in the UFC or KO'd in the UFC. And they score 2.73 and 2.47 DraftKings points per minute. So in a decision win at those rates, we're looking between 65 and 72 points. That licks. So just stay away from the Curtis Imavov fight, in my opinion.
Yep, that certainly does lick. Monk, what do you like here?
Yeah, probably that one for the most part. Otherwise, I would give you Eryk, Qileng, and Zahabi just because Zahabi just is a points vacuum for the most part. I'm actually going to do something I don't usually do and give you the opposite of one of our panelists' picks already. I'm going to go Oliveira and Belbita just because, I mean, yes, there's a ton of volume here, but if somehow those, even with the volume, I'm going to say that instead. Oliveira, when she won, she scored just 82 points. Belbita, when she won, just 89 points. I mean, both women are getting outstruck overall, or outpointed, I should say, overall. At distance, it's much better for them, but inside the distance, it is terrible. Absolutely terrible. These women score 80% of their DraftKings points overall at distance. It's basically, just accidental. You can score more than that inside the distance than they currently are. So if one of them happens to accidentally trip or do, their favorite move of that division is the head and arm throw, this fight could just be over with quickly and scoring 0 points whatsoever. So I'm going to fade this one. I do like the underdog Belbita a little bit more, so I will have her, but overall, I mean, I just think there's a ton of fights that are going to score better than this one.
Yep, I think there's some very, very good fights to target, and I also think there's some very, very bad ones. Interesting slate this week. Let's move on to the fight to fade, or fighter to fade, and I'll kick this one off. It's somebody that we mentioned a tad, and it's going to be Aiemann Zahabi, 7,900. So there's guys out there that are low volume, but I consider Zahabi just no volume. I mean, this guy throws absolutely nothing. He's so low volume. He shows up to the fight and does absolutely nothing. I think he's extremely reliant on knocking out Arichi Long, who hasn't been knocked out in 33 fights. He's a BJJ black belt that refuses to wrestle or even attempt to wrestle. So I hate Zahabi in this matchup, and I hate Zahabi on DraftKings especially. I guess his path to victory would potentially be like a robbery decision where he does nothing but still gets the judge's nod, which is very possible. But in terms of that scoring well, I just don't see it. So very, very easy fade for me. Aiemann Zahabi, 7,900. Gordo, which fighter are you fading this week?
Yeah, I mean, the way we're going, I think you're going to have some good pivot plays here, Weezy, because I'm taking Oliveira as my fighter to fade. I mean, to me, she's someone who doesn't really impress me that much. Not too many intangibles, especially with the wrestling. I think she's just limited to being a striker, especially in this matchup here where I do favor Belbita. In that case, although she does have decent volume, she did only score 81 points in her last win, and that was with 2 takedowns. I think she's limited here. I think there are fighters who have much higher ceilings. For that reason, I will be fading Maria Oliveira.
Weezy, which fighter are you fading this week?
I'm going to go with Miranda Maverick. Natalia Silva, when she beat Jasmine Jasudavicius, only scored 85 points against Jasmine. And that was in a win. I mean, Jasmine is going to wrestle, and she might have some success. She's bigger, she's stronger, she's longer, and she's definitely the better freestyle wrestler in this spot. She's got good body locks, too. If she does have success wrestling, Miranda's going to have a hard time piling up points against someone who fights with the style that Jasmine does. Jasmine is only allowing 2.18 DraftKings points per minute to her opponents. So she's a tough opponent to score on. And if that trend continues, Maverick's not going to pay off that $9,300 salary this week.
Yep, I'm on it right as well. And Monk, which fight are you fading this week?
Let's see here. I'm going to get a little bit contrarian and fade, if I can find my sheet, Beneil Dariush, to be honest. I won't have 100% of this fight. I love the upside of Oliveira, although I am picking Dariush to win probably 6 out of 10 times when they fight here. He just does not score very well overall. Just over, let's see, he's like 14 wins at the weight class, 3-round fights. He scores 91 points per win. At 8,600, I just don't see that getting done this week, especially with some of the extremely high scores that we have. Also, when Beneil loses, he gives up 111 on average in those fights. His ceiling is just average for the card. These guys, he does control 82% of the grappling time, but overall, he just can't translate that into decent DraftKings points. He put up like 117 against Holtzman, but he's also put up much, much lower scores than that. For instance, let me click around real quick. And of course, this whole thing just froze up. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Doesn't score extremely well, but 91 points at 8,600. I just don't see that happening. And like I said, I love the upside of Oliveira compared to Dariush this week.
Fair enough. All right, let us move on to our favorite underdog. We'll start with you, Weezy. Who's your favorite dog this week? I have a feeling I know which one you're going to say, though.
Yeah, it's you know who it is. It's
Yeah.
Charles do Bronx Oliveira, man. He's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week this week, and I think that he's way more dangerous everywhere the fight goes in comparison to Dariush. If Dariush wins this fight, I think it's by decision. But if Charlie wins, I think it's inside the distance. And if that happens, I mean, he's most likely optimal at only 7,600. You know, one of the things that bothers me about Dariush is he's such a good wrestler, right? But what wrestlers tend to do when they're trying to get up is give up their back. And it's something you just can't do against Charles Oliveira. You know, that dude gets on your back. And, you know, this fight could look a lot like the Michael Chiesa fight. You know, I mean, if you watch that fight, that's exactly how Charles Oliveira is going to beat him. Body lock, tank down, gets Dariush on his back, and then he passes and then gets to his back. You know, like as soon as Dariush tries to stand up, Chiesa set the trap so that he would stand up. Bam, got on his back, and it was over shortly thereafter. I think that's how Oliveira beats him. I think he's going to shave his ass, you guys. That's my favorite dog of the week.
Yeah, Bootsy agreed. For me, it's Oliveira by default because, man, I don't like a lot of dogs this week. Like, Oliveira clearly has the best upside as an underdog by a mile. He is going to be the highest owned by far, but I'm just not feeling a lot of these other dogs. Like maybe I like Fugitt a little bit. Who else? I like Kyle Nelson a little bit, I suppose. But I mean, just Charles Oliveira is the clear answer to the point where I just can't give anybody else. I'm going to have a ton of Charles Oliveira this week in terms of an underdog. Monk, who's your favorite underdog this week?
I'm going to go with Eryk Anders, and love Bootsy preemptively agreeing with me. Eryk Anders at 7,800 over Marc-André Barriault. The guy scores better than a lot of people think on average. I mean, both of these guys honestly just have come off of like 119 point wins, something crazy like that. But Barriault constantly is giving up a decent amount of points, which we do love to see here. But Eryk Anders, what is impressing me the most, at middleweight, is his inside the distance pace. He scores almost 5 points a minute, gives up just 2.5. He's outscoring his opponents everywhere, while Barriault is getting outscored for the most part, especially inside the distance where he allows over 5 points a minute. The other thing is Barriault allows triple digits when he loses. Both of these guys have a high ceiling, but Eryk Anders has, according to my calculations, the best floor on the entire card. Also controls 78% of the grappling time he's involved in. And the last stat I'll give you, the $7,800 salary when it wins, 70% optimal, which is a crazy high number for a salary, you know, that's not considered a huge dog salary. That is a ridiculous number, 70% optimal. So give me Eryk Anders. I think he has tremendous upside and can get it done over Marc-André Barriault this week.
Did you just break down the Anders side without saying his nickname?
Ya boy.
That's what I thought. Gordo, who are you liking as a dog this week?
Yeah, like you said, there aren't many dogs that really jump out and ask me to roster them. So we're going to cheat a little bit here. We're going to take the cheapest owned underdog, and that's Diana Belbita, $8,000. I know I just talked about her opponent here, but I do think Belbita is the one with the better upside, especially in terms of the grappling realm as well. But I really like her volume. I think she'd have the volume edge here. Add in the fact we are back in Canada. She could get a hometown nod there because she does fight under the Canadian flag. But I do think she has more passive victory to get it done, and she is going to come in at a very, very low ownership. I know you're going to have to find some other dogs down there, but I do think she's relatively safe. I do think she wins this fight more than her price tag indicates, and I do think that it's going to include some wrestling sometime that could score decently well.
Perfect. Yep. I do have some sprinkles on Belbita. I like to hear it. All right, let's move on to our prize picks section. Use that promo code. Where the heck is it? Pub Sports. Sign up. Check it out. Prize Picks is a very, very good time. I will kick us off here. So the one that did stick out to me was in terms of the significant strikes. I like the more on Maria Oliveira, 77.5. On Underdog it was actually 79, and I liked it a lot on Underdog, but it looks like on Prize Picks it's even cheaper here. So yeah, I think this fight goes 3 rounds at a very high clip. I think this fight's going to take place at distance at a very high clip. And Maria Oliveira lands 5.27 significant strikes per minute. So I would like it even more if it was Belbita, but I still think Maria Oliveira can go out there and honestly soar past that 77.5 as long as there's not a finish, which I'm really not expecting. So give me Oliveira more on that significant strikes. Gordo, do you have a Prize Picks play you like this week?
I actually like a few of them, but if I had to pick one, let's go with the Marc-André Barriault over in strikes here. It's set at let me double check here. Set at 63.5. This is a guy who averages 5.9 strikes per minute. The guy lands a bunch, and when he does do this, getting a phone call here. That's the phone call telling me the bookies think it's too good, right? He does have a lot of volume. He's someone who I do think this fight is projected to go a bit longer here, and I do think against a guy in Anders who has been pretty tough, we're not going to get a first round finish too early. Hopefully,
do not
anyways, we're gonna keep on going here. It is one that is
significant strikes. The bookies hate it.
Yeah,
The
they hate it, man. It's too good.
Like bypassed his AirPods.
It has somehow. It's breaking all laws here, and I do think that we have someone in Barry who does break this score here as well. He does average a lot of strikes. He is going to have that forward pressure, and I think that in order to beat someone like Anders, you're going to need to throw a lot of volume and break that gas tank. I think he does just that.
Sounds good. I like that one as well. Monk, do you have a price fix play that's sticking out this week you like?
Yeah, I'm disappointed. Man, I want to pick Nunes takedowns over 2, but I wish it was like either 1.5 or 2.5. I really wish that. Instead, I'll pivot. I'll go Mike Malott under 37.5 significant strikes landed. I think either he wins early or probably slows down significantly, and maybe Fugitt could get some wrestling in. Either way, I think that number is pretty high for him. And unless, he doubles up his current UFC time and goes all 15 minutes, I think that's a decent play.
And speaking of Malott, for some reason they have the fight time at 8.5 minutes. Like they never watched a Mike Malott fight. Like that should probably
he doesn't even have 8.5 minutes in the UFC.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm going to add that to my play this week. Weezy, what do you like for price picks? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's at Mike Malott under 8.5 minutes, and then I paired that with so I want that as my play that we're tracking on the show, but I'm pairing that with the under fantasy score for Blake Builder, which is set at 96.5 points. That's a high score. I mean, you need to get a lot of takedowns. You need to stuff a lot of takedowns. You need to land a lot of strikes and get a finish in order to score that many points. So I also like the under for Blake Builder's fantasy score, but the one that I'm giving is under 8.5 minutes from Malott. I have that as a 2-legger.
I like it. I think I might make a nice 3-legger this week. Yeah, a lot sticking out on price because I like it this week. So I had the Oliveira higher on that significant strikes. We had Gordo with more on the Barriault significant strikes. We had Monk with under on the Malott strikes, and then we got Weezy with the Malott under on that fight time, 8.5 minutes, which is ridiculous. That it should be set at like as well. So yeah, even better. Heck yeah. All right, let's move on then to our favorite GPP play, and I will let Uncle Weezy kick it off. What do you like?
On GPP play, I have this week Mike Malott. I mean, he's the definition of a GPP play. Every pro win for Mike Malott is a first-round finish, and his salary isn't even $9,000 this week, which is kind of bizarre, to be honest with you. So at that salary, you're taking a huge, huge chance if you leave this dude out of your lineup. He's averaging over 107 points per fight. He's dangerous wherever the fight goes. I think Fugitt's a live dog this week, but leaving Malott out of the DFS lineup at only 8,800 is just terrifying.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to do that. I mean, I love that price tag for Malott. I think in terms of like his first round upside, 8,800 makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go with Mr. Dan Ige, 9,100. I don't think he's going to have like a crazy ownership because you got Malott, who's cheaper. You have Beneil Dariush, who's cheaper. You got Amanda Nunes up top. And then you also have Blake Builder, who I think is going to have some ownership. But Dan Ige, I think he has a good chance to knock out Nate Landwehr. And I think it could be early as well. We saw Landwehr knocked out by Herbert Burns, of all people, and Julian Rosa, of all people as well. And Ige hits very hard. Nate Landwehr, he's a dog. He's tough, but he's very reckless, leaves a lot of openings, and Dan Ige can crack. I think Ige has a good chance to not only win it by knockout, but early knockout as well. So 9,500 or 9,100, I think is a solid GPP play this week, and I don't think his ownership's going to be crazy. Monk, who are you liking for GPP this week?
Well, you Freudian slipped at 9,500. It's Amanda Nunes, guys. She's going to be in 80 to 90% of my lineups, I think, for them. I mean, just it'd be crazy not to. And yes, if she gets Juliana Pena, that's what I said earlier. You just put Aldana in, get yourself some leverage there. But I won't speak a ton. I already talked about Nunes. Like I said, 2 out of her past 5 fights, over 150 point. Her average fight against Spencer, she scored only 125. Like, what the hell? 125. That's so pedestrian. Like, we need something more than that. Obviously, I'm being speaking tongue in cheek here. Overall, in her last 5, it's 134-17. I mean, she's just going off and not allowing any kind of points at all. Like I said, Irene Aldana in her last 5, 0 points per minute in takedowns, 0.07 points a minute in control time. She is screwed if this thing goes to the mat. So it's either Nunes early for a big score or hopefully Nunes late for an even bigger score. But yeah, if Nunes wins, I mean, the winner of this fight's optimal, right? In my opinion. So give me I'll pay up 9,500 for Amanda Nunes.
Absolutely. I'll be talking about Nunes very shortly. But first, we got Gordo. What is your favorite GPP play?
Yeah, well, for me, it's either Nunes or Malott. Those are the 2 clear GPP plays for me, but this allows me to talk about somebody else here. Let's talk about Beneil Dariush. In GPP, this is kind of the fight that's going to gravitate towards a lot of the ownership. And if you're taking Dariush, you're covering half of the field, or a lot of the field, that is taking Charles Oliveira. I do think Charles Oliveira is going to be one of the larger dogs this week. And if you want to get different, you should take someone like Beneil Dariush, because although he is going to have some ownership himself, I don't think he's going to be as owned as the underdog here in Oliveira due to that price tag. I think Dariush has just as much of a chance to win, if not more, including the price tag here. I am picking him to win, if that means anything here. And when you have someone, Oliveira, who, although he is maybe the most dangerous fighter we have here, he's also a guy with a lot of holes in his game. He can be hit. He can be finished here in the spot. And I do think Dariush has multiple paths to get him out if you're going to score very well. So I think Dariush, due to his ceiling with the finish and due to the ownership on Oliveira, makes for a pretty good GPP play.
Absolutely. Favorite cash play, Monk talked about her a few times, actually. I'm going to talk about her as well. Amanda Nunes, 9,500. Yeah, I mean, skill for skill, I just don't even think it's close at all. I don't think Aldana, gives any problems to Nunes. The only thing is what we have to worry about with Nunes is the potential motivation going into this fight. But if she shows up, she's motivated, or at least like halfway motivated. I think she makes this look pretty easy here. 9,500. I think there's finish upside, early finish upside, takedown upside. Really whatever she wants. I think she has the highest ceiling on the slate. I think she's probably the safest fighter on the slate. There's not a lot of plays I feel extremely safe about this week, but she is one that I do feel safe for cash, especially. So give me Amanda Nunes, 9,500. Love her for cash, and then in tournaments as well. Weezy, who's your favorite cash play this week?
Yeah, it's also Nunes. I want to see her on the scale, though. I really need to see her on the scale. If she weighs in and looks good, she'll be in my cash lineup for sure. I think the takes that I'm hearing this week concerning how Aldana is going to win this fight are all kind of narrative based. Amanda's better everywhere. Her power on the feet is next level. Her fights are only at distance striking range 57% of the time. The other 43%, she's dominating in the grappling exchanges, and that's where this fight takes place, I think. High grappling upside here for Amanda. She's averaging 4.04 Draftkings points per minute over a huge sample size. So at that rate, in a 25-minute fight, she scores 100 points in a decision loss, 130 in a decision win. So leave her out of your lineup at your own risk if she makes weight, that is, and looks good.
Yeah, for me, even if Nunes showed up with crutches and a cast to weigh-ins, I'd still probably pick her to win here. Just kidding. I'm just joking. Gordo, who you liking for cash this week?
Well, you guys made my job easy. You broke it down perfectly. It's Amanda Nunes. Not much more to say than that. She is the greatest woman fighter of all time, and I think she reminds us all why this weekend. Her salary's high, but she does score amazingly well. I do think she is the ultimate cash play this week.
Perfect. And then I believe Monk still has to go. Monk, who's your favorite cash play?
Yeah, excuse me, it's Nunes, but I'm going to switch it up, a little pivot, since people aren't really talking about her or picking her for that matter. I'm going to go Miranda Maverick at 9,300. I actually really like her for GPPs. Yes, I know Jasudavicius only allowed 85 points against Silva, but Silva can barely strike. I think Maverick striking is a bit better than that. Meanwhile, Jasudavicius is giving up, let's see, she scores 1.32 points per minute at distance. 1.3, that might as well say 0. She gives up more than double that at distance. Inside the distance, she does look good, but so does Miranda Maverick, and Maverick has one of the higher ceilings on the card. She's averaging 109 points, more than that per 3-round women's flyweight win. When she loses, she only gives up 85 points, so it's basically the same as Jasudavicius. Has a great ceiling, as I mentioned, has a decent floor, also of 33 points. 3 of her 4 wins at the weight class are finish wins, averaging 55 bonus points per win. They spend about the same amount of time inside the distance. And the big difference here is the strength of schedule, guys. Jasudavicius has fought Gabriela Fernandez, okay, and then Kay Hansen is the other one before she switched careers. So I'm not really looking, I don't really give either of those wins too much credit. Yes, Maverick has fought Young and Mazo, but she's also faced Blanchfield. Barber, I think she won that fight and then beat Jillian Robertson. So she has a decent strength of schedule here, and I really like her in this fight, and I like her for cash. Side note, I love this fight for GPPs, to be completely honest. If Jasmine wins, she's on the optimal, and if Maverick wins, hopefully she's going to score very well.
You're scaring me a little bit more. I have like 0 of this fight.
Dude, and it's women's flyweight, 54% optimal. I'm going to get so much leverage on Maverick here. Hopefully it pays off.
It could. I'm more so on that strawweight fight, to be honest, but we will see what happens there. Favorite value play, I'll kick us off. My favorite value play is actually going to be Mike Malott, 8,800. I just think, in terms of, the line, 8,800 seems about right. But in terms of the upside for Mike Malott, I mean, this guy has first round upside, 9 wins, all 9 coming in the first round. So it's safe to say if he does win this fight, it's probably going to be in the first round. And if that happens, 8,800, I think he pays it off pretty easily there. So I like Mike Malott. He's my value play this week. I think there's even some value on the $8,800 salary. When I saw that, I was very excited because I do like Malott to get that first round finish this week. Gordo, who's your favorite value play this week?
Yeah, hopefully I don't get another phone call during this because I'm taking Marc-André Barriault as my value play. I think he's someone at 8.4K can go out there exceed value because he's someone who throws a ton of volume and is going to have the cardio edge here. The power bar kind of exemplifies what a Canadian fighter should be, right? He's got that hockey style. He's going to go in the clinch. He's going to do dirty boxing, and I love him for that. But he is someone who is very high pace, who likes to use his cardio, and he was no stranger to over 115 point scores. I mean, 132 against Azatar, 120 against Marquez. The guy has a very good ceiling, and at 8.4, when his win condition is primarily going to come to volume, pressure, maybe a late finish, I do think he could be some good value for us this weekend.
Sounds good. And then Monk, who's your favorite value play this weekend?
Yeah, it's Charles Oliveira at 7,600. I almost said 78. It's even better than that. 7,600. He's 9-3 in 3-round lightweight fights, specifically in the UFC. 3.91 points a minute, allowing just 2. At distance, he's outscoring his opponents by 1 point a minute, and inside the distance, it's not even close, like 4.5 to 2.5, scoring just under 100 points per win. So we're right in that triple-digit category, and for a dog, I will take that. Spends, or actually 60% of his total DraftKings points in those fights have come inside the distance. 79.4 bonus points per win. Over 9 wins, guys. I know he's a bonus machine, but good Lord, 80 bonus points per win over that many wins is almost unheard of. 4 of those 9 fights over 100 points. I mean, the guy controls 65% of the grappling time. He's got the second best last 5 strength of schedule on the entire card, second just to Dan Ige by like less than a point. So, like I said, I do like Dariush in this fight, but the DraftKings side is Charles Oliveira. The value is off the charts for this guy at this price. So, yeah, if he wins, I mean, we're going to laugh at the price that he was at.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of people will be laughing for sure. And then Weezy, who you like as your value play?
I'll give you Diana Belbita, 8,000 this week for someone who's landing around 9 distance strikes per minute, and she's going up against a fighter in Maria Spider Girl Oliveira, who's allowing 4.34 DraftKings points per minute. That's a decent value there at 8,000. You almost certainly get a full 15 minutes out of her, and if she wins at that price with the volume she puts up, she's going to probably pay off her salary and then some and get you a nice cheap win there at 8,000.
I like it. I just redid my cash lineup for the show, and she made the cut. She made the cut. So there we go.
Bookie's calling me, dude.
I got you. All right. We'll move on.
Same guy?
It might be, man. It might be. The dart throw. We'll start with you, Monk. Who do you like as your dart throw this week? Someone who's going to be owned.
Let's see. We're going to go with Mr. Steve Urseg here over David Dvorak. Speaking of people who have absolutely no value at ridiculous salaries, we didn't even talk about him. David Dvorak, probably the fighter you should fade the most. 9,400. This dude in flyweight fights scores like 50 some points a fight. Yeah, he scored 94 against a guy who is probably high on cocaine and missed weight. So catch weight, we're not counting that. But he scored like 57 and 73 in his other fights. So give me the newcomer here, Steve Ursig, at 6,800. If he gets a win, he's optimal. If he wins a split decision and score 40 points, he's likely optimal. So yeah, I love this fight. And as long as he doesn't get absolutely bonked in the first round, which David Dvorak historically doesn't do in the UFC, that is, then yeah, he should score okay.
Yeah, I went Ursig as well. I was actually really impressed with Ursig in terms of like the grappling. I think it's a tough matchup for him here, especially on short notice. But if he can get this fight down to the mat, like his grappling's incredible. I do worry about his wrestling. I worry about his striking. But like I said, if he can get it down there, I think he's going to have opportunities to not only win minutes, potentially win moments on the mat. So yeah, that price tag, I think it's worth some shots this week. Gordo, who do you like as a dart throw?
I have Ursig written down here as well, but maybe he's going to be a bit more popular than I think. Let's talk about somebody else. And when we're talking dart throws, right, we want people who think are going to come in at low ownership, high ceilings. Let's talk about Qileng. Haven't really talked about him much today. 8.3, I think, in this spot here. Although Zahabi's kind of, disgusting for DraftKings lineups, the way he slows down fights. Qileng is going to have that pressure. We know he's going to have that. I know we're going to have the volume edge here. And I do think in this matchup, he could have some potential takedown upside as well. So when you have someone at 8.3 who's going to come in at a decently low ownership, in my opinion, he's worth a bit of a dart throw due to his potential ceiling with a very high pace in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I like Qileng as well a lot, but what's scaring me, Gordo, is he's now minus 105. Like, how can somebody bet on somebody that does nothing in Zahabi? Like, I feel like the fix is in, man.
They're just parlaying Canadians.
Yeah, that'll do it. I think we're at Weezy. Weezy, who do you like as a dart throw?
I'm going with Jasudavicius this week. She can wrestle. If Miranda can't stop it, Jasmine's going to win this fight. If that happens at 6,900, she's going to be optimal and free up the salary that you need to get the top-notch fighters you need in your lineup. Niagara top team, stand up. You got a lot of fighters going at it this Saturday, and I think Jasmine knows who she is. I think that she's going to push a game plan that Miranda has a difficult time dealing with. I think it's going to be a greasy fight, but I think she's going to get some takedowns here. Wrestling is something that Miranda is not fantastic at yet. She's a BJJ player and a Muay Thai stylist. The wrestling still seems to be lacking behind those other two toolboxes or tools in her toolbox. We'll see if Jasmine can exploit that, because if she can, Brady, Monk, and Gordo, I think not only is she going to score well, but I think she's going to win the damn fight.
Yeah, I definitely think it's on the table as well, but we will see. What we're going to do now is, first of all, thank you all for hanging out. Good amount of people in here. If you guys can, like the video. Secondly, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, put it in the chat. I saw a couple earlier. We'll get to all those in a second here. But first, we are going to check out the lineups from last week. And it's not, my Wi-Fi is terrible. Okay, I got it. So last week was probably the worst week I've ever had. I had like so much Jamie Malarkey, and then he went out there and got starched, and then I didn't have a ton of Blackshear as well. But I did really good on single entry, believe it or not, and also in the Ironman, I think I got second, which was nice. So that was good, helped stop the bleeding a little bit. But in our competition here, we had Weezy in fourth. Oh God.
Yeah, I left Jared Gordon in my lineup. I don't know how that happened, but I felt like I had bet all these bets on Jim Miller, and because of that, I thought Jim Miller was in my lineup and not Gordon. So it was a rough week for your Uncle Weezy.
So that happened. Yeah, Daniel Saunders, which was a good pick, 106. Tim Elliott, 116. Kaikar France robbed 58. Should have had 88. Gaff Rob 34. Malarkey 35, and then Gordon 0. So Weezy scored 350.23. Not terrible, even with Jared Gordon in the lineup. Monk was in third. You had Karina Silva 98. Daniel Santos 106. Kaikar France 58. Victor Altamirano 31, Jim Miller 126, and Jamie Malarkey 35. scoring 455. And then in second place was myself. I had Karina Silva 98, Daniel Santos 106, Tim Elliott 116, Jim Miller 126, Muin Gafrov 34, and then Jamie Malarkey 35. And I scored 517. And then Gordo, this is actually the lineup I put into the Ironman, did very well. Karina Silva 98, Daniel Santos 106, Elliott 116, Jim Miller 126, Albazi 67, and then Jamie Malarkey 35. Gordo wins, scoring 550 there. All right, let's take a look at the current standings. We have Monk in fourth. He has 6,983. In third is Weezy, 7,177. Second place, myself, 7,674. And then first place is Gordo, gaining more of that lead, 7,933. I'm 258 behind Gordo. Weezy, 755 behind Gordo. And we have Monk, who is 949 behind Gordo. So, Gordo, you are still in first place. And, yeah, you got it done again this week.
I did. And the funniest part about that is I had that lineup for my Ironman and I switched last minute. So I ended up scoring less than you despite having that lineup in this one. So we kind of switched there. But going into a Canada week, hopefully got some momentum there. Should be fun.
Absolutely. All right. We'll do our lineups for this week and then we'll get to some questions and then we'll give our quick picks and then head out of here. We'll start with you, Monk. What is your lineup for this week?
We're going to go with Amanda Nunes, Dan Ige, Blake Builder, Eryk Anders, Adam Fugitt, and Jasmine Jasudavicius.
All right, Gordo, what do you got for this week?
I'm taking Amanda Nunes up top, Beneil Dariush, Mike Malott, Diana Belbita, Qileng, and Steve Eryk.
Nice. We're close. We have two different. Weezy, what do you got this week?
I got Amanda Nunes, Mike Malott, Dan Ige, Diana Belbita, Charles Dubronx Oliveira, and Jasmine Jasudavicius.
We as well have two different. I'm going Amanda Nunes up top, Mike Malott up top, Blake Builder up top, Diana Belbita, Steve Eryk, and then Charles Oliveira. I believe that I said 6 there. So we're all pretty close, I'd say. Let's get to some questions here. I'm going to go up and Sam with the dono. He is saying having trouble, Jasmine or Nate scoring more on DK. We'll kick it to Gordo. Who do you like more, Jasmine or Nate Landwehr?
Yeah, the truth is you have two polarizing matchups here. I think Jasmine's definitely the safer person. And in my mind, she does score better because I do think that she has a better chance of winning this fight than Nate. Flip side, though, Nate's ceiling is a lot higher. So although he's the riskier play, he is also one with a higher ceiling. Gun to my head, I'd say Jasmine scores more, but I don't think either of these fighters win. It's close.
Monk, thoughts?
Yeah, I think Jasmine in a win, just barely, but man, that's a tough one. Yeah, Ige doesn't tend to give up a ton of points.
Weezy, thoughts?
Yeah, the thing about Ige is that he could start you in the first round, and that's how Nate has lost. That's what worries me. You know, I don't worry about Miranda Maverick going out there and absolutely just you know, like going through Jasudavicius like that. I don't think she's got power like that, like Ige does. So, but also Nate Landwehr is a good scorer, 3.86 DraftKings points per minute. So he's in high-paced fights, and you know, I mean, like if Landwehr does score well, he's gonna be optimal because this guy is not. He's gonna be low owned as well. I think a lot of people are on the Ige side, including me, but I just think he's going to have a hard time finding a path to victory against a guy like Ige.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Gordo in the sense of I think it's like super, super close. Don't really have a lean one way or another. If I had to pick, I guess I'd go Landwehr, but like I said, it's just really, really close. Sam, with another dono, appreciate you, Sam, saying thoughts on the GPP lineup. Chris Curtis, Dan Ige, Jasmine Jasudavicius, Mike Malott, Nunes, Oliveira, 400 left. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Curtis, I think
off from my lineup.
There you go. Yeah, I think Curtis is a solid dog this week. Like if that Curtis fight finishes, I think he gets a knockout. So yeah, I don't hate it. Monk, any thoughts on the line?
Yeah, excuse me, I don't hate it. I think Anders for $100 more than Curtis might have a bigger upside. But yeah, no, I don't hate it. I love the other 5 picks for sure.
Yeah, Curtis would be the one that you could look at change, but there's
Right.
really not a ton of options. Gordo, any thoughts?
Yeah, in my mind, if you're thinking the same way I am in terms of a lot of the favorites roll this weekend, that's a great play because the two underdogs you have are people I do expect going the distance and who I do think have a higher floor. So for that reason, it is there. I think that Oliveira, Nunes, and Malott are like the core three for GPP. So I do like it.
Yeah, for sure. And then Weezy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I love it because it's just one off from the lineup that I just gave out. So, and I think there's a ton of upside in all of those guys. You know, if Jasudavicius wrestles, she can score a ton of points. Malott, ton of upside. Amanda Nunes, ton of upside. Charles Oliveira, like an over 90% finish rate in his career, ton of upside. Dan Ige, first round knockout power, so ton of upside there. And Chris Curtis is the kind of guy who can knock out people who haven't been knocked out because he's such a crisp counter puncher. Sometimes he hits you with stuff you don't see coming, and those are the ones that knock you out.
Yep, absolutely. Do not hate it whatsoever. All right. But yeah, Sam, I mean, I think if you wanted to like change it up a little bit, maybe Curtis to Anders, like Monk said, or even like Curtis to Belbita could be interesting, but I think it's solid line there. All right, so quick picks, and then we will head out of here. I'm going to start us off. Give me Amanda Weezy, are we doing the round and method or just a pick?
Well, I'm doing the round and method because I like to give just a little bit more to our audience.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page here. Give me Nunes sub 1, Dariush KO 1, Barriault decision, Landwehr decision, Mike Malott knockout 1, Maverick decision, Belbita decision, Builder sub 3, Dvorak decision, Arichi Long decision, Imavov decision. Monk, what are your quick picks for this week?
We'll go, excuse me, Belbita decision, Dvorak decision, Builder finish, Zahabi decision, Maverick decision, Imavov decision, Anders decision, Landwehr decision, Malott finish, Dariush finish. That is the most interesting one so far. And Nunes finish. Like you, CM Monk has like 7 decisions this week.
Yeah, I think we're, especially on this undercard, lots of decisions. Yep. Gordo, what are your quick picks for this week?
Not too far off there. We're taking Belbita decision, Dvorak decision, Builder finish, Arichi Lang decision, Maverick decision, Imavov decision, Barriault late finish, Ige early finish, Malott early finish, Dariush late finish, and Nunes early finish. So starts off decisions, ends up with finishes.
Yes. So we start off slow, and then we end it with a bang. Hopefully for my bet's sake, because I have a lot of violence props on that main card. Weezy, what are your quick picks for this week?
It's Amanda Nunes, submission round 2. Charles Oliveira, submission round 2. Mike Malott, submission round 1. Dan Ige, knockout round 1. Marc-André Barriault by decision. Chris Curtis by 3rd round knockout. Miranda Maverick decision. Aori Qileng decision. Blake Builder decision. David Dvorak decision. Deanna Belbita decision.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. It was a fun show. We're going to kick it around real quick. I have a show in about 10. Well, me and Gordo actually have a show in about 10 minutes. We'll kick it to you first, Gordo. Let the people know your plans and where they can follow you.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, my plans involve doing a show with you right after this. My content is already live on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I have a full card breakdown from both a betting and DFS perspective. You can check it out there. And then I'm actually done for the week. I head back home. I will actually be back in Canada to watch the fights, which will be nice, but that just means no more content from me. So if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Twitter at GamblesGordo or check me out on YouTube at Plays and Fade Sports.
Sounds good. Weezy, any big plans tonight? Any content tonight?
Yeah, Bootsy's ready for this card. I'm going to be going live 10 o'clock tonight for Ask Weezy. It's a pay-per-view card, so I want to make myself available just in case you guys have any questions about the card that's going down. Got a bunch of new stats to show off, so let's talk about those, figure out ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 289, and bathe in the blood of our vanquished Draftkings enemies for this card as well. Let's get it, you guys. Let's go.
Let's go. And then, Monk, any big plans for the week? I know you already did your big show.
Yep. Game Theory on my channel. Hoping to give you all of the most pertinent stats so you can build those GPP and cash lineups. Give you a couple of picks, too, as well. Friday, Monk and Lose Happy Hour, 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern Time for a decent little card here. And then tomorrow night, Thursday night, I think I'm going to do it again, 10 p.m. Central Time. the unnamed nickname show.
Mm.
We're just going to BS in the chat and go over nicknames, decide who is worthy of having a nickname, who are not having a nickname, having their nickname, and seeing if that's going to pay any dividends in picking the fight. So last week, I think El Magnifico Victor Altamirano won with a 6.5 out of 10. So we'll have to see. I have a feeling, though, Qileng's going to run away with this one this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Richie Long, and I don't think there's
come on, that's scary as hell, and it's alliterative. Come on, bro.
There's some decent nicknames on the card, so that's gonna be a good show, Monk. When did you say that's gonna be? Friday, you said, or
we're gonna do Thursday on the Monk Maddox channel, 10 p.m. Central.
Perfect. All right, I'll be trying to tune into that one. I was in the chat a little bit for the last one. It was a very good concept.
Yeah, it was fun.
I liked it. Very good concept. Yeah, guys, follow me on Twitter at DFS_numbers, Instagram at DFS by the numbers. I'll be going live in 8 minutes. We got Gordo, we got Lou, we got Blood Buddy. Should be a very good best bet show. All my other content's out for the rest of the week. My betting breakdown video will be out tomorrow morning. But yeah, guys, best of luck for UFC 289, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.